You are listening to the first Keyz to the City Roc podcast. My name is Christian Capello, and I'm here with Noah Ogden. Me and Noah are basketball junkies who played basketball growing up, and we both have recently graduated from Keyz College, where we played college soccer for 4 years. So for those of you who don't know, Keyz to the City is a bunch of basketball games that feature the best players from Rochester. This idea was started by Deshaun Much, who played his collegiate basketball at Iona College. This Pro-Am is free and is located at Wilson Foundation Academy. So to start off, this weekend was pretty crazy, Noah. It started off, there were a ton of people there. It brought a lot of people from Rochester together. You had Josh Mack, you had Anthony Lamb, Sierra Dillard, all the best players from Rochester. Even if they weren't playing in the game, they were there to attend this event. I really liked the one-on-one battles that were going on. We saw in that first game from Dane Miller and Sincere Ramshahai. They were going at it, and Dane Miller got the best of him a little bit, but it was really entertaining to see. Was there anything that stood out to you this weekend, Noah?
One thing that really stood out to me was how much the players, how competitive they were with each other. It wasn't just like your average pickup game. The players all had a chip on their shoulder, and it was actually much more competitive than I expected. And like you said, the amount of people that showed up was really interesting. I feel like they could have filled up a bigger gym, but I kind of liked how it was in a smaller gym because it made the game a lot more crazy. The fans were almost on the court, and I think that made the players go even harder.
So Noah, who do you got winning this whole thing?
I think that at the end, Team Truth is the best team. I think that they're led by Christian White, and I think that he's one of the best overall players in the tournament. As we saw in day one, he hit 4 threes and had 23 points, and he was the performer of the day. And I just think that he has a lot of experience, playing at Monmouth at first, then playing at Syracuse and then Pace University. I think he has, a great jump shot. And even in the second half, he had 2 or 3 guys trying to check him and guard him the whole time, but he was still, finding the open guy or making the right play every time. And Torrance Dyke is also a big player for them. He's really strong, and he might be a little bit older, but back in his East High School days, he was one of the best players in Section 5, and he was always a powerhouse, and he's one of the leading scorers of all time at Damon University. And I think that he really helps that team out. And then their third best player, I think, is Vaughn Bowler. I've never seen him play before Saturday, but he was a lot better than I expected. He was a big piece for them, and I think he had a double-double, and he was just a menace inside all day.
I agree with the Christian White thing. I think when I first saw him step on the court, I was kind of questioning. I've never seen him play, but he really did impress me, and it seemed like every shot that he threw up at the rim, it was going in. But I'm going to go with the obvious choice here, and I'm going to go with Team X, who is 2-0 so far. Really, really impressed with Jalen Pickett. I seen him play in high school a couple times at Aquinas. He plays both sides of the ball, an elite defender. So I think Jalen Pickett leading that team. I think Christian White's going to have trouble against him. I also like Riddell Freeman on that team from SUNY Poly. He didn't play in Sunday's game, but hit a couple threes in that first game. And Riddell Freeman was an all-conference player in college as well. And then you got Isaiah Lewis, who really impressed me. And I seen him play back a couple years ago when he was at Churchville, now at Roberts Wesleyan College. Really, really impressive. Do you think that Team Truth can beat Team X when they go up head-to-head?
I honestly think Team Truth is about to bust Team X because Team X...
You think they're about to bust them?
Team X got no big men. So, first of all, Riddell Freeman's kind of nice, but he's 5'5". I'm not saying he's not nice, but he's only 5'5". And Jalen Pickett's a big guy. I think he's going to give Team Truth a lot of problems.
Who's guarding Riddell Freeman on Team Truth?
Christian White. Who's guarding Christian White? Who guarding Christian White?
Jalen Pickett.
They had they were triple teaming Christian White, and he still dropped 23. So first of all, Christian White, I think Christian White will drop at least 20 on Team X if they play or when they play. And I also think that Team Truth just has too much size, like I said before. Torrance Dyke and Vaughn Bowler, they're both tall and they're both jacked. Who's gonna check? If you look at Team X's roster, it's composed mostly of guards. I don't think they have anyone that can check either of those guys.
Did you see what Devon Gavin had today? He had 22.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Fine.
So then who's guarding him? So you think Christian White can guard Riddell Freeman defensively?
I think he can. Yeah, I think he can lock him up. Christian White. Okay, first of all, Christian White has cookies, and he has a stat, and he has handle. So that's all I gotta say about Christian White. Oh my gosh. They also got Rodney Johnson, who's a freak athlete. I think he only had he didn't have that many points the first game, but he's a freak athlete. He could go off at any time.
Yeah, if you missed his highlight play this past weekend, you got to come watch Rodney Johnson. He can bounce out of the gym. When he was warming up, the dunks that he was doing,
the whole gym was going crazy. They were watching the layup lines.
They're ridiculous. All right, so we'll go to the next segment. I disagree, but we'll go to the next segment anyway. We'll go to the players that stood out. I'll start. And I'm gonna pick your guy right now. I'm gonna pick Christian White.
Yeah.
He was named the player of the day on the first day. He had 23 points. I think he hit 5 threes in that first day.
That boy was wild.
And he really, you saw they were triple teaming him, and I think defensively. I don't know. Defensively, I think he struggled a little bit. He's playing against some of the best players in Rochester, and they're fast, they're quick.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think defensively, he did struggle a little bit. But offensively, he was that 1 3 he almost hit in the corner after hitting 3 threes in a row, and he was pulling up from 10 feet behind the 3-point line.
Yeah, they started following him.
But he was a player that really stood out to me. Who do you got, Noah?
One player that stood out to me was Jaden Bradley. I think a lot of people were excited to watch him play because he hasn't played in Rochester in a while, even though he's from here. He's down in North Carolina right now. He's the number 1 overall point guard in the class of 2022. So a lot of people were there to watch him. I was really excited personally when I saw that he was on one of the rosters, and when he was playing, he only had 10 points on Saturday, but every time he scored, it was crazy. It was finger rolls, spinning off the backboard. He was doing all types of crazy stuff, creating one-on-one battles. The whole gym was going crazy every time he touched the ball. Nobody wanted to see him get subbed out. So for me, he was one of the best players that I saw.
And then another guy that stood out to me was Dane Miller. I knew coming in he was going to be one of the big-time players there. Went to Rutgers University, was on Oklahoma City's G League team, and now plays for FIBA Africa, I believe. And he, in the beginning, I was like, is he the real deal? But then he started turning it up. Once Sincere started talking to him, he really started turning it up. The moves he was making and the baskets he was getting in that second half, they were NBA type moves. And I know he's not playing against NBA type players here, but he's playing against the best players in Rochester. And it's not like he's playing against chumps from wherever. He's playing against the best players in Rochester. And I said it when I was watching. He is having NBA type moves, and the baskets he were getting, not your average guy would get him. Who's your last guy that stood out? No,
I'm gonna go with Kobe Long. The second day, that boy went off. He had 25. He was hitting threes from all over the place, and he's still in high school. People don't really realize that. A lot of guys in this league are much older. They've already been through college. Some of them have played pro ball. This guy is still in high school. And he had 25 points. He's not that tall, he's not that strong, but he's just smart with the ball, and he always makes the right play. So he really stood out to me also.
So our last segment for today's podcast is highlight plays. And my first highlight play, and okay, he didn't complete the dunk, and we were talking about it earlier, but Rodney Johnson's missed alley-oop, and it was a bad pass, and he caught it one-handed. And I think he jumped over the guy. He jumped over him, right? And I think, did the ref call a foul on that?
I don't even know. I wasn't even paying attention. I was just watching how he jumped over them.
I had to double check to make sure that actually happened because Rodney Johnson jumped over a human being. And Rodney, he can't be taller than 6'1" or 6'2".
I think he's 6'2", yeah.
He can't be taller than that.
Yeah.
And I played with Rodney back in the day, and he's a really good basketball player. But his athletic ability, he can jump higher than anybody in the gym, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It was ridiculous. So I wish we had a highlight of it that we could show you guys, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I expect to see a lot more plays like that from him throughout the league.
And then my next play that really impressed me was Gerald Drumgold's putback dunk on, and I don't know who it was, and if I did know who it was, I probably wouldn't say it because I don't know. He's lucky because I do not want to say it right now. I wouldn't say his name. But Drumgold had a putback dunk. He's going to Pitt next year from Irondequoit, and I like Drumgold's game. I really do. I think he took a lot of jump shots. But he can sky too. He's another player that you want to have your eyes on him at all times because he's another guy that can jump out of the gym. Noah, what were some highlight plays for you?
My first highlight play was it was in the first game when Miles Brown was going at it with Dane Miller, and they kind of had a little one-on-one battle, but it all started when Miles Brown, it was one-on-one, he took Dane Miller, and he did a step-back hezzy, and Dane Miller jumped up, and Miles Brown went right around him and finished with the left hand, and right after that, everyone was like, yo, he just took on Dane Miller, and he's still in high school. Everyone started going crazy.
And that's when Dane Miller, he was like, all right, you know what, I got to start taking over, I got to start getting buckets because... you could tell he got upset, and he's like, yo, he was waving his hand. He's like, yo, clear out, man. I'm getting my bucket now.
Up there like, yo, take him on again.
It got crazy. That was really entertaining.
Yeah, that's my first play. And then my second one is Jaden Bradley. Again, I'm going to talk about him. He did an off the heezy on Isaiah Lewis, And that was one of the most disrespectful things I've ever seen. I was sitting right behind him when he did it, and I just put my hands on my head. I was like, yo, he really did an off the easy on that man. Yeah. And everyone was just gassing him up, and like he missed the shot after, but that part didn't matter. He just did it. He was disrespectful. Like it was crazy.
So that wraps up our first podcast of Keyz to the City. We will be doing this every week and give you some of our takeaways from each weekend. Next week, we will put in some player and fan interviews, so you won't want to miss it.